The twin sons of Arroyos Prime were beginning their slow descent behind jagged mesas, painting the desert sky in shades of amber and violet. Dust swirled along the uneven ground, catching the fading light and making the horizon seem alive. Maverick Jackson rode slowly on his all-terrain speeder, scanning the vast emptiness before him. The human outpost was just a dot in the distance, but he could already feel the silent pull of the unknown. Maverick, a rugged man in his mid-30s, had always been drawn to the edges of maps. The farther a place was from civilization, the more alive it seemed to him. On Earth, he had wandered deserts and mountains, but nothing compared to the raw, untamed world of Arroyos Prime. Every gust of wind seemed to whisper secrets, and every shadow could hide dangers waiting to test him. As he approached the outpost, he noticed the thin, wiry silhouette of a woman standing on a rocky ridge. She seemed to merge with the environment, her long, dark hair whipping in the wind. Her eyes reflected the last rays of sunlight, sharp and observant. Maverick slowed his speeder, feeling an unusual tension in the air. "Hello?" he called. Though he wasn't sure if she could hear him, the woman turned her head slightly, acknowledging him, but she didn't move. Instead, she gestured to the rocks behind her, as if inviting him to follow. Curious, Maverick parked his speeder and climbed up the ridge. "Name's Maverick Jackson," he said, extending a hand. "I'm here to map the area, check on the outpost. You must be—" "I'm Ayanna," she interrupted softly. Her voice was calm but carried a strange authority. "I've been here longer than most humans have even thought to arrive. You should be careful." Maverick raised an eyebrow. "Longer than most humans? How long are we talking?" "Long enough to understand this land," she replied. "Time moves differently here, and danger is everywhere, even when it hides behind beauty." Maverick nodded slowly. Humans had always been explorers, drawn to challenge and risk. But something about Ayanna suggested she was more than just a guide. She seemed to belong to the land itself. "You came a long way," she said, scanning the horizon. "Do you know what's out there?" Maverick glanced at the endless desert. "Not really. That's why I'm here." Ayanna's lips curved into a small smile. "Curiosity can be dangerous, but I suppose humans are made of it." They walked together down the ridge toward the outpost. The settlement was small, a scattering of domed habitats with solar panels catching the last light. Smoke curled from a central fire pit, and the soft hum of machinery indicated life inside. Inside the main dome, Maverick met the other colonists. They were a mix of engineers, scientists, and scouts, all focused on the task of survival in a harsh and alien world. Their eyes widened slightly as he entered. He had a reputation for being fearless, but also for bending rules in ways that usually worked out. "Jackson," one of them greeted, a woman with short red hair and a practical jumpsuit. "We weren't expecting anyone today." "How's the desert?" "Same as always," Maverick replied, scanning the room for supplies. "Hot, dry, unforgiving, but manageable." Dry, hot, dry, dry. As night fell, the colony's protective shields flickered to life, casting a pale glow over the surrounding dunes. Maverick sat by the fire pit, sharing a simple meal with Ayanna. "You understand this place better than anyone here," he said quietly. "Why?" She stared into the fire. "Because I've learned to listen. The wind, the rocks, even the plants, they all have voices. You just have to pay attention." Maverick chuckled softly. "I listen, but mostly to danger. Danger listens too," she said with a hint of amusement. "And it doesn't always wait for you to be ready." Two. Just then, a sudden gust of wind swept through the outpost, rattling the domes and sending a cloud of dust across the courtyard. The lights flickered, and the colony's sensors blared a warning. Maverick jumped to his feet, instincts kicking in. "Dust storm," he muttered, grabbing his scanner. "It's coming fast." The colonists hurried to secure the domes and reinforce external equipment. Ayanna moved with surprising speed, her knowledge of the terrain, allowing her to anticipate the storm's behavior. She gestured to Maverick. "Help me here. The wind is stronger at the ridge. We can redirect the flow and protect the equipment." Working together, Maverick and Ayanna used heavy panels and weighted ropes to shield the vulnerable parts of the outpost. The storm hit with a roar, sand and grit whipping through the air like tiny needles. Most humans would have panicked, but Maverick's calm, methodical approach helped steady the others. Hours later, as the storm passed, the outpost had survived with minimal damage. The colonists breathed a collective sigh of relief. Maverick leaned against a support beam, wiping sweat and sand from his face. "You didn't have to do that," Ayanna said, walking up beside him. "Most humans would have focused on themselves." "I didn't see it as a choice," Maverick replied simply. "You survive by keeping others alive too. That's human instinct." Ayanna studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Perhaps, but not all humans would have thought of it that way." The next morning, Maverick prepared to venture further into the desert. He had charts, scanners, and enough supplies for several days. Ayanna offered to guide him. "I can," she said softly, "but I won't. You must make your own choices out there. The land respects those who respect it, and punishes those who don't." Maverick smiled. "Sounds fair. But you'll be nearby, right?" "Always," she said, her voice almost a whisper carried by the wind. As he rode out into the vast desert, Maverick felt a sense of exhilaration. Every step brought new discoveries. Every challenge demanded ingenuity. The world of Arroyos Prime was harsh, but it rewarded those willing to think, to adapt, and to act with courage. Hours later, Maverick stopped at the edge of a canyon. The walls were covered in strange, glowing fungi that pulsed faintly, illuminating the rocky interior. He adjusted his scanner and noticed movement small, fast, and alien. "Interesting," he muttered. "Nothing like Earth." From the ridge above, Ayanna's silhouette watched silently. She knew the canyon well. Many had entered it. Few had returned unscathed. But Maverick, he was different. Humans were different. Clever. Persistent. Unpredictable. He would survive where others might fail. As the sun set behind the mesas once again, the desert came alive with the soft cries of nocturnal creatures. Maverick set up his temporary camp, noting every detail for his reports. He felt a thrill running through him. This was exactly why humans had always reached for the stars. The unknown was terrifying. Yes, but it was also full of possibility. Somewhere deep in the canyon, shadows moved with purpose, sensing the presence of a new visitor. Maverick didn't know it yet, but his choices would soon test not just his skills, but his ethics, his courage, and the very essence of what it meant to be human. And as the first stars of night appeared in the alien sky, Maverick thought only one thing. This planet is alive, and I intend to learn its secrets. The morning sun rose slowly over the mesas of Arroyos Prime, casting long shadows across the desert floor. Maverick Jackson packed his supplies carefully, checking his scanners, rations, and climbing tools. Today, he intended to explore a canyon that lay a few miles from the outpost. The glowing fungi he had noticed the day before intrigued him, and he was determined to learn more about the canyon's secrets. Ayanna appeared quietly beside him, her presence as natural as the wind. She did not speak at first, letting him prepare. But Maverick felt the weight of her gaze. "You're going into the canyon alone?" she asked finally. "I can handle it," Maverick replied with a grin. "Besides, you said I need to make my own choices." Ayanna's eyes narrowed slightly. "Yes, but remember, the canyon has been here far longer than humans have. It remembers everything." Maverick tilted his head. "It remembers? The rocks?" "Not just the rocks," she said softly. "The energy in this place. It reacts to those who enter. Some things are harmless. Some are not." Maverick nodded. Warnings from Ayanna were never empty. The outpost had already faced dust storms and minor tremors that only she had anticipated. He strapped on his scanner and started down the winding canyon path. The walls rose high on either side, glowing faintly with the bioluminescent fungi. The air grew cooler and thinner, carrying a strange metallic smell. Every step echoed strangely, as if the canyon itself were aware of his presence. Hours passed. Maverick moved carefully, noting small creatures darting in and out of cracks, alien plants that seemed almost aware, and the faint hum of energy coming from deep within. His curiosity grew, but so did a strange feeling of unease. Then, suddenly, the ground beneath his feet shifted. A soft whirring sound filled the canyon, and before he could react, a web of shimmering energy shot up around him. He struggled, but the net held fast, suspending him in the air. "Clever," he muttered. "Someone doesn't want visitors." Maverick examined the energy net. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, neither mechanical nor purely electrical, but alive with a faint, pulsing intelligence. It reacted to his movements, tightening when he tried to push against it. He reached for his scanner, but it beeped uselessly, unable to penetrate the net's shielding. Panic did not come immediately. Maverick had faced worse, but he knew instinctively that brute force alone would not free him. From above, a soft voice echoed, "You shouldn't have come here alone." Maverick looked up to see Ayana standing on a ledge, her silhouette calm and commanding. "Ayana," he called, "help me out." She descended slowly, her movements precise. "The net is alive," she said as she crouched near him. "You cannot fight it. You must understand it." "Understand it?" Maverick asked, frustration creeping into his voice. "It's trapping me." Ayana extended her hands toward the energy, closing her eyes. Maverick watched in awe as the net seemed to react differently to her presence. The pulsing slowed, then shifted direction slightly, creating an opening just large enough for Maverick to slip through. He dropped to the ground, breathing heavily. "How did you do that?" "I listen," she replied simply. "This place communicates. You just have to hear it." Maverick shook his head, impressed. Humans would have never thought of that. Ayana gave him a small, almost amused smile. "That is why humans sometimes survive where others fail. But survival is not just about strength. It is about respect and understanding." They moved deeper into the canyon. The walls glowed brighter here, and the hum of energy was louder, almost musical. Maverick noted that the energy seemed to form patterns, pulsing in ways that suggested a hidden logic. "This place, it's alive," he muttered. "Not in the way animals are alive, but it thinks. Some things are older than humans," Ayana said quietly. "They remember everything, even the footprints of those who came before. They will test you." Hours passed, and the canyon narrowed, leading to a small chamber. Inside, the walls were covered with inscriptions, strange, glowing symbols that shifted as they watched. Maverick scanned them with his device, but the readings were incomprehensible. "Who built this?" he asked, eyes wide. "Something older than your kind," Ayana replied. "You must tread carefully. Curiosity can become danger if you act without thought." Maverick nodded. He had always been curious, his entire life had been built on exploration. But he also trusted Ayana's wisdom. Together, they moved slowly, mapping the chamber and noting every detail. Suddenly, a sound like wind rushing through stone echoed through the chamber. The energy in the walls shifted, and the inscriptions glowed brighter. Maverick froze. "The chamber is aware of us," Ayana whispered. "It responds to movement and intent." Maverick realized that any sudden action could trigger a dangerous reaction. He took a deep breath, centering himself. "Okay. Slow. Careful. Think." They advanced together, hands brushing over the walls without touching the glowing symbols. Maverick felt a tingle of energy on his skin, and his scanners beeped erratically. He had never felt anything like it, part machine, part magic, part life itself. Ayana paused. "Do you understand now? Not everything can be controlled. Some things must be respected." Maverick nodded. "I get it." But why didn't you warn the outpost? Why let me face the net? Number 7. Why let me face the net? Because you needed to see it for yourself, she replied. Humans learn differently. You test. You adapt. You survive. Others might fear what they do not understand. He frowned slightly but could not argue. She was right. Every time humans had been tested, they had risen to the challenge. Even here, on a planet far from home, they adapted and overcame. As they moved to the far end of the chamber, Maverick noticed a pedestal-like structure. On it rested a small device, glowing faintly. The energy around it pulsed faster as they approached. "Do you see that?" Maverick asked. Ayana nodded. "The artifact is powerful. It can teach, but it can also harm. Humans often take the path of gain without understanding consequences." Maverick's mind raced. The device could be revolutionary for humanity, but the risks were clear. He felt the pull of ambition, the desire to bring back proof of intelligent alien design. Yet, he also felt the weight of Ayana's words. Respect, understanding, patience. "I won't touch it yet," he said finally. "Not until I understand more." Ayana's eyes softened. "That is the unexpected choice, Cowboy. Most humans would grab it without thinking. But you, I think," Maverick finished. "It's what humans do best. Not just act, but think." She nodded, almost smiling. "Yes. That is why you survive." They spent the next few hours studying the chamber from a safe distance, taking notes, mapping energy flows, and observing the artifact's behavior. Maverick realized that every test, every trap, and every strange phenomenon in the canyon was designed to measure intelligence and intent. "This canyon, it's more than a place," Maverick said aloud. "It's a challenge, a test." "Exactly," Ayana replied. "And humans, your kind, have always risen to challenges. Not just with strength, but with creativity and courage. That is why I trust you, even in the face of danger." As they prepared to leave, Maverick glanced back at the chamber. The glowing symbols seemed almost to wave goodbye, fading slowly as if acknowledging their respect. On the way back to the outpost, Maverick felt a sense of accomplishment mixed with wonder. He had survived the net, resisted the temptation of the artifact, and learned more about the canyon than anyone else at the colony could imagine. But more importantly, he had learned about himself and what made humans remarkable. Their ability to think, to adapt, and to act with both courage and respect. By the time the twin suns set again, Maverick and Ayana returned to the outpost. The colony's shields glimmered faintly in the dusk, and the wind whispered through the domes. Maverick felt the desert alive beneath his feet, and he knew that tomorrow, new challenges would come, but humans were ready for them. And deep in the canyon, the energy net pulsed softly. Waiting, watching, curious about the human who had passed its test without taking more than he needed. The morning air of Arroyo's Prime was cool and quiet as Maverick Jackson and Ayana prepared to explore the caverns deeper within the canyon. The glowing fungi that lined the walls illuminated their path, casting eerie shadows that danced like spirits. The canyon had been alive with subtle energy yesterday, but today, it seemed to hum louder. Almost in anticipation, Maverick adjusted his scanner, checking for energy fluctuations and signs of movement. "It's quiet," he said, though he didn't feel reassured. Quiet on this planet often meant unseen danger. Ayana moved ahead with silent grace, her eyes scanning every crevice. "Quiet does not always mean safe," she said. "You remember that?" Maverick grinned. "I do. But quiet is easier than screaming." They entered the cavern, a vast chamber with walls curving high above them, pulsing with soft, alien light. The hum here was stronger, and Maverick felt it in his chest. A vibration that seemed to communicate a warning. "This place," Maverick whispered. "It's like it's alive, really alive." Ayana nodded. "It is alive, but not in the way you expect. It observes, but it also protects. Sometimes, protection is dangerous, They moved carefully, mapping the cavern as they went. Strange plants with translucent leaves brushed against their clothing, and small creatures with luminous eyes watched silently from crevices. Every step echoed strangely, amplifying even the smallest sounds. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A low growl rolled through the cavern, vibrating through the walls and floor. Maverick froze, instincts kicking in. He had encountered wildlife on other worlds before, but this sound, it was something different. Larger, smarter. "Stay calm," Ayanna whispered. "It is aware of us." Before Maverick could respond, a massive figure emerged from the shadows. It was unlike any creature he had seen. Muscular, sleek, with glimmering, armored skin, and multiple eyes that reflected the cavern light. Its limbs ended in clawed appendages, and its movements were fast, precise, almost intelligent. Maverick's heart pounded. Humans relied on tools, weapons, and intelligence. This predator seemed to have all three and more. "Back," Ayanna murmured. "We cannot fight it directly." Maverick nodded, gripping his scanner and utility belt. They needed a plan, and fast. The predator stepped closer. Sensing their presence, it tilted its head, studying them like an intelligent observer rather than a simple animal. "Clever," Maverick muttered under his breath. "It's testing us." Ayanna's voice was calm but urgent. "Humans have survived many worlds because you can think. You can adapt. Use that now." Maverick scanned the cavern, looking for anything that could give them an advantage. Stalactites hung above, some loose. Glowing plants lined the walls, pulsing with strange energy. He noticed the predator was avoiding the lighted areas, almost as if it feared the energy. "Plants," he whispered. "They're sensitive to energy. Maybe I can use that." Ayanna nodded slightly, understanding immediately. "Distract it. Lead it without striking directly. The canyon teaches patience, not violence." Maverick took a deep breath. He tossed a small energy beacon toward one of the glowing plants. The plant's light flared brightly, creating a burst of illumination that caught the predator's attention. It hesitated, then lunged toward the sudden movement. "Good," Ayanna whispered. "Now keep moving. Think 3 steps ahead." Maverick led the predator carefully through the cavern, using his knowledge of human tools and the terrain to guide it without harm. He dislodged a few loose stalactites above, not to strike the creature, but to block paths and create obstacles. The predator adapted quickly, but Maverick noticed patterns in its movement. It predicted force, but not subtle tricks. "Humans are tricky," he muttered. "We survive because we improvise." Ayanna smiled faintly. "And because you respect life. Not all creatures are enemies." The predator paused in a small alcove, growling softly. Maverick realized it had noticed something. Its multiple eyes focused on a faint glimmer coming from a side tunnel. Curiosity, not aggression, seemed to drive it. "That's our chance," Maverick whispered. He used a reflective panel from his kit to bounce a beam of light into another tunnel. The predator's attention shifted, and it moved toward the new stimulus, leaving the main path clear. They moved quickly, deeper into the cavern system. Maverick's scanner beeped furiously, picking up energy fluctuations. "Something's ahead," he said. "More than just the predator." Ayanna's eyes narrowed. "Yes. This is the heart of the cavern. You must be careful. What lies ahead tests not only body, but mind." The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, glowing with an intense bioluminescence. Strange crystalline formations jutted from the walls and ceiling, resonating with energy that made the air hum. Maverick felt it in his chest, the vibration mingling with the fear and excitement that coursed through him. The predator was still behind them, but it did not follow immediately. It seemed content to observe, as if respecting the boundaries Maverick had set. "Look," Ayanna said, pointing to the center of the chamber. A platform of stone and crystal rose slightly from the ground. On it rested a device, similar to the one in the canyon yesterday, but larger, more complex. Energy flowed through it like liquid light, pulsing rhythmically. Maverick's eyes widened. "This This could change everything for humanity. Ayana's expression was serious. Or destroy it. This chamber is designed to test intent. The predator is part of that test. Maverick considered his options. Take the device and risk unleashing something uncontrollable. Or study it carefully. Respecting the system the canyon had created, humans were clever, yes. But their ambition often outweighed caution. He knew what most humans would do, but he also knew he had to choose differently. I won't touch it, he said finally. Not yet. We observe, we learn, and then we act with understanding. Ayana's eyes softened. Good. That is the unexpected choice. Most would act first, think later. You have learned the canyon's lesson. The predator shifted slightly, as if acknowledging his decision. It had been a test of more than survival. It had been a test of judgment. Maverick realized that his ability to think creatively and act ethically had impressed even this alien guardian. They spent the next few hours mapping the chamber carefully, recording energy flows, studying the crystals, and noting the predator's behavior. Every time they moved, they did so with precision, avoiding sudden movements and respecting the energy around them. By the time they decided to leave, Maverick had learned more than he had expected. Humans were known across the galaxy for their ingenuity and resilience. But he realized that it was their moral choices, their ability to respect life while adapting to challenges, that truly set them apart. As they exited the cavern, the predator followed at a distance, then paused near the tunnel entrance. Its eyes met Maverick's, almost as if recognizing him as a worthy presence. Slowly, it disappeared into the shadows, leaving the humans to return safely. Back at the outpost, Maverick and Ayana shared their findings with the colony. The maps, energy readings, and careful observations would allow future expeditions to navigate the canyon safely. But more importantly, Maverick had proven that human ingenuity, combined with patience and respect, could survive challenges that even the most advanced alien species might consider insurmountable. That night, as the twin suns set behind the mesas, Maverick sat by the fire pit, staring at the stars beginning to appear. Ayana joined him, quiet but present. You survived, she said softly, and you did so without destroying what could have been dangerous. That is what makes humans remarkable. Maverick smiled. We survive. We adapt. And sometimes, we even learn to respect things we don't fully understand. That's what makes us human. Ayana nodded. Yes. And it is why I trust you to face what comes next. The canyon. The predator. It has shown you a path. The universe is vast, Maverick, and humans are just beginning to understand it. Maverick leaned back, feeling the warmth of the fire and the weight of their discoveries. Tomorrow, the canyon would wait for him again, full of secrets, challenges, and tests. But tonight, he allowed himself a moment of pride. Humans were clever, adaptable, and courageous, and he had just proven it once more. And somewhere deep in the cavern, the predator rested, watching the humans camp through the shadows. It had tested them, observed their choices, and found them worthy. In a world where survival depended on understanding, patience, and ingenuity, Maverick had passed not just as a human, but as a representative of what humans could achieve when they combined courage with wisdom. The desert was quiet, but alive, and Maverick Jackson, the cowboy who listened, learned, and adapted, was ready for the next challenge. The air in the canyon was heavy with energy as Maverick, Jackson, and Ayana approached the alien ruin. Unlike the natural formations they had explored before, this structure was clearly built, tall, angular walls of shimmering stone and crystal that reflected the light of the twin suns. Strange symbols pulsed softly across the surface, changing in patterns that seemed almost alive. Maverick slowed his steps, scanning the walls with his device. This isn't just a ruin, he said. It's a fully functional system. It's like it's waiting for someone to arrive. Ayana nodded. And it has waited a long time. Many who came before sought to control it. Most failed. Few understood its purpose. The two humans approached the entrance, which was framed by two massive pillars carved with intricate designs. As they stepped inside, the air shifted, vibrating softly. Lights within the walls pulsed in response to their movements, casting moving patterns across the floor. "This is incredible," Maverick muttered. "I've never seen technology like this, not even close." Ayana's expression was serious. "It is powerful, and it is dangerous. Those who seek to take it without understanding risk everything, not just themselves, but the colony, and possibly even the planet." Maverick swallowed hard. The temptation to study it, to bring it back for humanity, was strong. He had faced challenges and dangers before, but this was different. This ruin could change the future of humanity. Every instinct in his body screamed to take the device, learn its secrets, and claim it for humans. Yet, something deeper, an understanding he had gained from the canyon and the predator, made him hesitate. He remembered Ayana's words: respect and understanding. Acting impulsively could destroy everything. They moved further inside, their steps echoing against walls that seemed impossibly tall. Crystals jutted from the floor, humming with energy. Maverick noticed symbols along the walls that reacted to their presence. Some glowed brighter, others dimmed, as if measuring their intent. "This system, it's testing us," Maverick said quietly. "Not just for skill, but for judgment." Ayana nodded. "Yes. Many see power and grab it. Few see the responsibility and choose patience. The choice is yours." Maverick's mind raced. The artifact in the chamber ahead was large, glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Every story he had ever heard about alien technology flashed through his memory. Humans often underestimated the dangers of advanced systems. As they approached, the walls shifted slightly, forming a protective barrier around the device. Energy arcs danced across the surface, reacting to Maverick's movement. He reached out instinctively, then stopped. "Wait," Ayana whispered. "You do not understand it yet. It will react to your intent." Maverick took a step back. The temptation to claim it was almost unbearable. Every human explorer in history had dreamed of moments like this, proof of intelligent alien life. A technology that could accelerate humanity by centuries. But he remembered the canyon, the predator, the lessons learned from survival and respect. Instead of grabbing the device, he crouched, scanning the energy patterns and mapping the flows. He observed how the crystals pulsed, how the energy responded to their presence, and how the ruins seemed to watch them, evaluating. Hours passed as Maverick worked. He documented every reaction, every pattern. Ayana watched silently, her eyes showing a quiet approval. This is amazing," Maverick said finally. "It could power the colony, improve communications, even defend against storms, but it's unstable. If we take it without understanding, we could destroy ourselves." Ayana placed a hand on his shoulder. "Exactly. Humans often see what they can gain, not what they must respect. You are different." Maverick looked at her. "Different? Because I didn't just take it?" "Yes," she replied simply. "Because you thought. Because you waited. Because you respected life. Even technology. That is what makes humans exceptional." As he finished his study, a sudden vibration shook the chamber. Energy arcs flared across the walls, and the ruin seemed to respond, acknowledging his restraint. Maverick stepped back instinctively, but the device remained inactive, pulsing softly as if content. Ayana's eyes gleamed with a mixture of relief and pride. "The ruin has accepted your choice. Few have done what you did. Most would have grabbed it immediately, risking collapse and chaos. You showed restraint." Maverick exhaled, feeling the weight of responsibility lift slightly. "Yes," Ayana said. "For now. We will study it from a safe distance. One day, humans may understand it fully. But that day is not today." Maverick nodded. The lesson was clear. Power without understanding was dangerous. Knowledge without respect could destroy. Even if intentions were good. Humans had the ability to survive, adapt, and thrive, but only if they combined courage with wisdom. As they turned to leave, a soft hum filled the chamber, following them like a living presence. Maverick realized that the ruin, and perhaps the planet itself, was aware of their choices. It had tested them, measured them, and accepted their judgment. Outside, the twin suns were setting, casting long shadows over the desert. The canyon seemed calmer now, as if the challenges it presented had been acknowledged and respected. Maverick took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill his lungs. Humans can be unpredictable, Ayanna said, breaking the silence. But sometimes, that unpredictability is their greatest strength. You think, you adapt, and you survive. And sometimes, you choose what others would not. Maverick smiled faintly. So, being smart isn't just about solving problems. It's about knowing when not to act. Ayanna's eyes reflected the fading light. Yes. And that is why humans can be trusted with the future. Even when the universe seems impossible to control, they returned to the outpost, weary but triumphant. The maps and data Maverick collected would allow the colony to navigate the canyon safely in the future, and his decision to respect the ruin set a standard for human behavior. That night, as Maverick sat by the fire pit, staring at the stars beginning to appear in the twin-sunned sky, he reflected on the day's events. He had faced temptation, danger, and the unknown. He had been tested not only by the canyon and its guardian predator, but by his own instincts and ambitions. Yet, through restraint and careful thought, he had proven something essential. Humans could rise above instinct alone. They could combine ingenuity, courage, and morality in ways that even the most advanced alien systems recognized. Ayanna joined him, sitting quietly as the colony's lights shimmered faintly in the distance. The canyon has many more lessons, she said, and many more tests. But tonight, you have passed a crucial one. Maverick nodded, feeling a quiet pride. Humans are capable of more than survival. We can choose wisely, even when it's hard. That might be our greatest strength. Ayanna's expression softened. It is. And it is why I trust you to face whatever comes next. The universe is vast, Maverick, and humans are only beginning to understand it. But I believe your kind can rise to any challenge if you continue to think, respect, and adapt. Maverick leaned back, feeling the warmth of the fire against the cool desert air. Tomorrow, the canyon would await them again, full of mysteries, challenges, and tests. But tonight, he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Humans were clever, resilient, and courageous. And, if they chose wisely, they could navigate not only alien worlds but the moral complexities of the universe itself. The desert was alive with energy, but it seemed to hum in approval. Maverick Jackson, the cowboy who listened, observed, and chose restraint, had proven that humans were capable of something rare: wisdom. Even in the face of overwhelming temptation. And somewhere deep in the alien ruin, the glowing symbols pulsed softly, a quiet acknowledgement of the choice that had been made. In the vast, indifferent universe, humans could not only survive, they could rise, adapt, and thrive, if only they understood that power without respect was not strength at all. The twin suns of Arroyos Prime rose slowly over the horizon, casting golden light across the desert mesas. Maverick Jackson stood at the edge of the canyon, looking down at the glowing valleys below. The planet was alive with color and energy, and for the first time, he felt a deep connection to it, not as a conqueror, but as a student. Ayanna appeared quietly at his side, her presence familiar and grounding. "You've grown," she said softly, "in the canyon, in the ruins. You've shown what humans can do when they combine thought with courage." Maverick nodded. "I've learned a lot. Not just about this planet, but about ourselves. Humans, we survive. Yes, but we can also choose wisely." She smiled faintly. "And that choice makes all the difference. The canyon tests strength, cleverness, and restraint. You passed all three. Behind them, the outpost stirred to life. Colonists moved with purpose, preparing for the day's exploration. Thanks to Maverick's maps and observations, they could navigate the canyon safely, avoiding the hidden dangers and energy traps that had tested him and Ayanna. Maverick turned back toward the desert, thinking of the predator in the glowing cavern. It had been more than a threat, it had been a teacher. Humans had survived because they could think, adapt, and respect life. Not all species possessed that combination, and it was what set them apart in the universe. "Do you think the predator will return?" he asked, breaking the silence. Ayanna's eyes followed the canyon's shadows. "Perhaps, but it does not seek to harm those it finds worthy. It tests, observes, and judges. You have passed." Maverick felt a swell of pride. He was just one human, but his actions had proven something greater. That humanity could meet challenges the galaxy had never seen before. Back at the outpost, the colonists gathered for a briefing. Maverick and Ayanna shared their findings from the canyon, the predator, and the alien ruin. Maps, energy readings, and careful observations were displayed. But the real lesson was deeper. "We can survive here," Maverick told the group. "Not because the planet bends to us, but because we can think, adapt, and work together. The canyon tests more than our strength. It tests our choices." The colonists listened, their expressions a mix of awe and determination. Humans had always been explorers, but this was a different kind of frontier. One that demanded not just courage, but respect, creativity, and intelligence. As the days passed, Maverick and Ayanna worked together to teach the colonists how to navigate the canyon safely. They combined human ingenuity with Ayanna's understanding of the land, creating paths, markers, and safe zones. The colony thrived, not by exploiting the planet, but by collaborating with it. One evening, Maverick stood on a ridge overlooking the canyon. The twin suns dipped low, and the glowing fungi painted the landscape in soft blue and green light. Ayanna approached him, her gaze distant but calm. "Do you ever wonder," she asked, "how humans survived so long in the universe? Even before we arrived here?" Maverick chuckled softly. "It's in our nature. We adapt. We think. We face challenges we don't understand, and somehow find a way through. That's why we explore, why we survive, why we thrive." Ayanna nodded. "And that is why I believe your species can rise to any challenge. Not through strength alone, but through intelligence, respect, and courage." Maverick looked down at the canyon, remembering the glowing predator, the pulsing ruins, and the energy that had tested them all. He realized that humans were special not because they could conquer, but because they could understand, adapt, and choose wisely. Over the next weeks, the colony expanded its influence carefully. They did not dominate the canyon or the alien ruins, but instead studied them, learning from the energy flows, the crystalline formations, and the living systems that guarded the planet's secrets. Maverick often returned to the canyon, mapping new paths, observing the predator from a distance, and documenting the planet's complex systems. He took notes not just for survival, but for understanding, respecting the delicate balance of life and energy around him. One evening, as he sat by a small campfire in the canyon, he realized something profound. Humans were not the strongest species, nor the most advanced in every way, but their combination of courage, intelligence, and moral choice gave them an edge unlike any other. They could survive, adapt, and thrive where others might fail. Ayanna joined him, sitting quietly. "The canyon has taught you well," she said, "and through you, others will learn. That is your legacy." Maverick smiled, staring into the flames. "Our legacy isn't just about maps or discoveries. It's about how we act when no one is watching. How we respect the world, even when we could take more than we need. That's what will define us in the universe." As the twin suns set, the desert seemed to hum in quiet approval. The canyon, the predator, the ruins, all of it acknowledged the human's presence, not as intruders, but as beings capable of thought, courage, and respect. Back at the outpost, Colonists worked late into the night, using the lessons Maverick and Ayanna had taught to plan safer expeditions and study the planet's resources responsibly. The colony thrived, not through conquest, but through collaboration, ingenuity, and the moral choices that guided every decision. One day, a small group of alien creatures native to Arroyos Prime approached the colony. They observed quietly at first, curious about the humans who respected the planet, rather than destroying it. Maverick and Ayanna watched from a distance, understanding that trust was being built slowly. Humans had proven that they could act wisely. The colony's survival and careful exploration had earned the attention and tentative respect of the planet itself. As the weeks turned into months, the humans and the native species began a cautious cooperation. The humans shared knowledge, learned from the creatures, and adapted to their environment. They did not dominate the land, but became part of it, a living testament to the resilience and adaptability of their species. Maverick often reflected on the journey from the first dust storms to the energy nets, the glowing predator, and the alien ruins. Every challenge had taught him something essential. Humans could survive, yes, but they could also rise above instinct, think creatively, and make moral choices in the face of temptation. Ayanna watched him one evening as he recorded his findings near the canyon. "You've done more than survive," she said. "You've created a model for your people. One day, other colonies may follow your example." Maverick smiled, thinking of the countless challenges ahead. "I hope so. Humans can achieve a lot, if we remember to think, to adapt, and to respect life, both alien and human." The canyon glowed faintly in the twilight, as if nodding in agreement. The predator's eyes shone from a distant ridge, watching silently but approvingly. As night fell, Maverick felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The colony was safe. The lessons had been learned, and humans had proven themselves not just survivors, but thinkers, innovators, and beings capable of moral courage. And as the stars appeared in the twin-sun sky, shimmering above the mesas, Maverick realized the truth of humanity. They were small in the universe, yes, but remarkable. They could rise to challenges, adapt to unknown worlds, and choose wisely in ways no other species could. Humans were capable of greatness not just through technology, strength, or ambition, but through courage, creativity, and the choices they made when faced with the unknown. Arroyos Prime was no longer just a frontier. It had become a classroom, a testing ground, and a testament to what humans could achieve. Maverick Jackson, the cowboy who had listened, learned, and acted with restraint, had shown that even in a universe full of danger and mystery, humans could not only survive, they could thrive, innovate, and leave a legacy worth remembering. As he watched the desert glow under the light of the twin moons, Maverick knew that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of challenges, but humanity was ready to explore, ready to adapt, and ready to rise above any obstacle, just as he had in the canyon, the caverns, and the alien ruins. And somewhere deep in the canyon, the glowing predator moved silently, a reminder that life was alive, vigilant, and watching. But now, humans had earned a place in the universe not as intruders, but as worthy participants in the grand, mysterious, and beautiful tapestry of life. Maverick Jackson smiled, feeling the weight of his journey and the promise of the future. Humanity had survived the test, but more importantly, it had passed it with wisdom, courage, and respect. The desert wind whispered through the mesas, carrying with it a promise. Humans were here, and they were capable of extraordinary things.